Good morning, good morning, good morning. I know I'm behind the times today by far between the internet and life and all the stuff and things. I am here, right? I'm here. So I'm gonna try to. There may be some background noise, but please just hang in there with me today as we sort of you know do the thing that we do. I am Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the legislative legislator for the House of Delegates, 93rd District. Honored to serve, honored to be part of the way, the way. So I'll say good morning to you guys joining us on, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Substack. I think I got everybody. I think I got everybody there. We appreciate you joining us. I got a couple of things I'm going to go through today. I want you to make sure you got water, make sure you stretch your neck, check your calendar, check on people you love. There is work. I want to do some managing of expectations. So I'll talk about the events that we have coming up, as well as some work that we've been doing that's been newsworthy, as well as go through what it means to manage expectations. I think that's a big deal right now. Many of you, if you're like in the know or aware enough in Virginia, you know that there's some budget negotiation things going on. I was actually supposed to go to Richmond today to vote on a budget that is canceled. So I'm not going to Richmond today. So we'll be trying to catch up on all your emails and things like that. But I'm going to walk through that and sort of give you an understanding of the cycle. Remember that this is your time. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Like, just put them in the chat. Let us know what your questions are. Uh, and we'll try to go from there. I'm going to forget this, so I'm going to say it off top. Saturday, I hope I say it again, Saturday, um, the 20th at the Addicts Theater, I'll be giving a talk on music and movements. So how Black music has influenced movement. My nails for this month are the Clips first album. So if you look at the Clips first album, I'll probably post it. Or not. You know how that goes. I'll be in the work, but we'll be doing that. I believe that my talk starts at 1:15. I think it's 1:15 to 2 o'clock. Um, but that's Saturday. Tonight, we're going to be at the Jordan Newby Library. As many of you know, we have a community read 25-page book called Grab 'em by the Ear, How to Make Politicians Do What You Want. I'm ready to teach you the process. I'm ready to have a better understanding of what you think so that we can do this work better. And that's what I said. So if you go to the link tree or the link in the bio on Instagram, you can download the book. You can come read with us. Like, I'm not going to read the whole, it's 25 pages, this book. It's an opportunity for you to be a part. I'm going to go ahead and put the link tree, not the link tree, the Eventbrite, um, on all the spaces and places except for Instagram. But if you're on Instagram, you can definitely go to the bio and get that. So we need to learn how to do this work, not yelling, not just posting, or saying somebody should do something, because that happens. Somebody need to do something about this. I hear that, because we are the somebody. And sometimes doing something looks like reading together in a library, learning how power moves. It looks like, learning how policy gets made, and sort of learning how to, grab that process by the ear and say, get over here. You need to act right. And I can tell you, if there's anything to be super proud of, I think about how the marijuana legislation ended up in a budget we haven't voted on, but how it was vetoed, and still people fought in the process. That public pressure still got it at the end of the line. I will talk about that piece when we get to talking about the budget, but I just want to say, public pressure is still a real and very valid way to move. And thank you all who choose to do it. But policy is not magic. Policy is people. It is process. It is the pressure or the persistence. And yes, sometimes it's a whole lot of sort of patience with the side of, oh gosh, please help me through this process. It is. So tonight, Jordan Newby Library, go to the link tree, go to the Eventbrite, come be with us. I've got some amazing resources for you, because those of you guys who get the opportunity to read this are going to be able to move on to the next phase of things with us in this movement as we walk towards pushing the limits, pushing back, but also holding things in our hand. We're going to try to get the Commonwealth of Virginia to exercise its 10th Amendment right just a tad bit more. And if you don't know what the 10th Amendment is, that is okay, because I'm going to be doing a talk on what the 10th Amendment is and how we have to position. This is what we're walking towards in these unprecedented times, and we'll have to exercise it just a tad bit more. Just a tad bit more. So now on a couple fronts that I'm fighting or that I'm pushing with, right? I have been working on right now across the country with legislators, including Colorado Representative Jenny Wilford, around transportation network companies. That is the fancy, or TNCs. The fancy government term is like TNC. So you think like your Ubers, your Lyfts, your app-based rideshare companies that move human beings around every day, right? So here's the issue. States like Virginia and Colorado, we created laws to regulate these companies for a safety standard. Representative Wilford out in Colorado was actually sexually assaulted in an Uber, which brought her to sort of start bringing these sweeping, getting Colorado in the posture of like, we've got to hold people accountable for who they hire, right, to deal with human beings. Because when you're moving people around, especially women and young people, seniors, workers, these people that are riding late night, whether it's airport traveler, people just trying to get to their next place in space safely, there has to be some level of accountability. So here's what the federal government did, y'all. And then I'm going to get to the questions, the comments, and all that good stuff, and then we'll walk through through the next iteration of things. Here's what's happened. At the federal level, so at the congressional level, there was an amendment moving that would limit when these companies can be responsible. Actually, just flat out say that you're not responsible at all for any harm caused by their employees, the drivers. And so I want to say that really, like, sort of plainly, the federal government is considering language that would completely override the work that we are doing in our state, that we've done, that I'm gonna say I did, and that Delegate Lily Franklin, she also did a rideshare bill. They're saying, no, you don't get to just, that they're telling these companies that you don't get to just profit from the ride. We have been telling them that you don't get to profit from the ride. You can't profit from the ride and just disappear when it comes to the responsibility. And so, again, working with these state legislators across the country, respectfully, to say, in my whole government voice, chill out at the federal government, chill out, because Virginia has done the work. I cannot tell you the work that we did with Uber and Lyft to get to a point where we can say, here are the safety expectations. Do we have more to go? Absolutely. But I have constituents who depend on these services. We have survivors, we have riders who deserve to feel safe, and we have communities that also deserve a level of accountability. And so we don't need the federal government sort of stepping in to weaken our state level protections so that billion-dollar companies can have fewer responsibility, right? That is avoidance, and that is absolutely not okay. So I want to show you, I'm going to add to the stage the letter that Jenny and I did together, calling on these folks to really, to chill out. So we are not giving them a free ride for accountability. We are not playing with these folks. It's called what is the amendment? So the letter that has been written, that we've got over 275 state lawmakers signed on to it. The letter is already on Speaker Johnson's desk. As you see, I provided a quote here because that's the work that we did here. But we are. It's in they put this amendment in the Build America 250 Act, right? Like, which is wild. So Just letting y'all know some of the work that we are doing here in our office. Also, let's see if I can bring it up. I'm finishing up my article so that you guys will be able to read as to why I'm asking the Attorney General, the Commonwealth's attorney in Fairfax County, as well as the governor to audit or to investigate the tax returns of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. It is both an urgent and necessary thing to do. This man is not above the law, and right now we're sitting in a space and place where it has already been in the media that he has taken luxurious gifts, and that he did not account for those on his federal return. So nor did he do that. What we're saying is let's look into whether or not he violated tax law in Virginia, because he is a Virginia resident. If you know that, Justice Clarence Thomas is a Virginia resident. But I want to say what I'm doing, why we're asking of this, and how you can help is I'm going to tell you I'm writing an article about it that I'll post today on my Substack, and I'll share. So if you're not on Substack, please, get on Substack, follow and all that good stuff, but I also post it to all of the other social places. The question here is not about whether I like Clarence Thomas or if I agree with his opinions. The question that is not even primarily about whether or not the gifts that he received influenced the votes that he took on the Supreme Court, though I do understand why people would ask that question, right? But for years, public reporting has shown that Justice Thomas received, whether it's private jet flights, vacations on super yachts, luxury stays, tuition assistance for a child he was raising, a $250,000 motorboat paid for by a wealthy friend. Right. And so anybody looking at that could reasonably wonder if a public official is receiving that kind of generosity might feel pulled towards interests of the wealthy power of the people who appear for the court. That is a fair question by me, but that is not what I'm asking. The very narrow question that we're asking is, were any of those gifts taxable income? And if they were they reported on his Virginia tax returns? Because if the income belongs on the tax return and someone leaves it off with the intent to cheat the Commonwealth, the Virginia law has it in place. We treat that seriously. It doesn't become less serious because it is a person with a public title or a person on the bench. Does not matter. Could be me, could be the governor, could be the attorney general or whatever. So I'll walk through what my responsibility is, why I had to write both all the governor, the attorney general, and the Commonwealth's attorney, and then sort of the evidence pulled forward. I will also, freely say that I'm going to give credit where credit is due. This whole effort, and this is why you, the public, need to understand why you're so daggone powerful. This whole effort to do this didn't start with me. It started with a gentleman named Chris Hermitage and an organization called the Existentialist Republic. They have been doing this work since I knew about this in February or March, right? While I was in session, and I wanted to write a letter while I was in session, didn't do it, but they have been laying out the public record and sort of connecting the legal dots and giving up people a way to act. There is an article that was written by Chris that was called Clarence Thomas could be charged with a felony tax return on Monday, and their work is the one who helped us make the legal question very plain so that it's not performative or even partisan for that matter, but that is a practical way to say if these gifts were taxable income, were they reported? And it is worth looking into. It is worth being investigated. That is something that I'm working on. Okay, so just putting that in the underbelly before I go into talks about the budget, which I know that is the thing here, right? Today, that is the thing. We're going to talk about the budget a bit. Okay. Let me see. All right. So going to the comments, good morning, saying good morning to everybody. Appreciate you guys for being here today. Looking at, on the Instagram side, What is the plan if, oh, he canceled the election? You asked this, son, do you seriously believe we will be able to vote our way out of the hostile, the hostile takeover? There, like I said, there are several things what I need you to do is, if you get a chance to read, grab them by the ear. And I know that's like, what are you asking me to do this for? Because there are 5 pieces of legislation that need to happen before the November election that I think I will be asking you all to support, whomever's, signs on to help do this. That I will be asking you all to support before the November election, because I think we're in a state of emergency. I think the governor needs to call a state of emergency for democracy and start looking at how we protect the November elections. Your Truth and Justice 33. This is on Instagram, so I can't pull it up on the screen, just to let you guys know. This is Truth and Justice 33 asking the question. Your concern is both valid and duly noted. I do want you in on this fight. I just need, when we start barking up the tree, that we bark up in a way that'll get us closer or get us the right kinds of ears on it, so that we can help folks in government understand the extreme crisis that we could be in for the November elections. But I'm with you. I don't. There are so many things that have been happening, especially with the voting machines, with who's buying what, with the movement of the FBI and possible ICE. Like there are lots of things. If we're looking at history, because I do want us to be better students of history. If we're looking at history, the president is at a point where he is, sort of, he's on the tail end of his usefulness for the agenda for folks. And I'll just pull this, right? I still take time and look at this bad boy, right? Like I still take time, printed this out. You guys remember this mandate for leadership, the conservative promise. This is Project 2025, right? Like I still take a look at this to understand where we are and where we're going. And then I look at other countries. I look at what has happened in the 1930s here, across the world, in Germany. Like these things are telltale signs. So we should be concerned. We should feel like we're in crisis. And which is why I know that our states are going to have to understand the 10th Amendment, right? They're going to have to understand the 10th Amendment and exercise it, even though it feels uncomfortable. I'm trying to talk about it without going too deep, because I definitely want to talk about the budget, and I want to give you guys, I want to hold it all the hands, but I keep saying the 10th Amendment. I might as well just go ahead and say it. The 10th Amendment is in the U.S. It's in the Constitution. It was ratified in, which block is it in? I think it's in the 1791, thereabouts. There are block of bills that as part of the, yes, 1791, because that's when we did the Bill of Rights. And so the Bill of Rights, the 10th Amendment established federalism. And so it sort of states that the federal government only has specific powers granted to it by the Constitution, and that all those other rights are reserved to the states and to the people. And so at the fundamentally at the core, the purpose of that amendment was to sort of divide the power between the national and state governments, and preventing the federal government from becoming too centralized. So we've got to look at these enumerated powers versus the reserve powers, right? Like what does the Constitution give the federal government, right? What are those specific powers, such as, the authority to declare war, coin and money, right? To regulate interstate commerce. But that reserve power that still stays with us, these are powers not sort of explicitly listed for the federal government, default to the states or the people. So it's generally includes, managing public education, local law enforcement, family law, interstate commerce, all these things. And we are at a place we have to look at the principle of federalism and how we will operate with it, knowing and understanding our powers. Now, the last time that we got into this is why this conversation could be uncomfortable, because we know that the Civil War was over states' rights. And what federalism ultimately sort of did was put these things into buckets. Now, what I think have done so much is put so many things in the bucket of the federal government and not understanding that we have not only the right but the responsibility to hold our powers, especially as a state. And imagine if you never used a power or you never exercise it firmly and strongly, and then you have to change, because we don't have, I just talked about Clarence Thomas. It's not like we have a Supreme Court that is going to follow the Constitution, right? Like we don't, or not even, let me not even say follow the Constitution. We don't have a Supreme Court that can lead and interpret the law without their bias first, right? It is not unbiased, and that's fair to say that the Supreme Court is not unbiased. So we got to get to work, and this is require some of us to it requires reading. It requires patience. It requires a level of understanding so that we can move in a way that makes sense and with some historical truths and facts. Not to say that is what wins, but you can't be in the fight if you don't understand the fight, or you'll just be a willing idiot. That is what it is. Yes. And that is why I love Candace says that is why local voting systems matter. Absolutely. I'm telling y'all, we are all up in arms. I went to a council meeting that night. I told you I was just going there for drones. I was going to find out what drones, but what I saw was a stifling of public comment. I saw democracy being put into a bottle. I saw First Amendment being put into a bottle in a very nefarious way. And so there are things that are happening locally that we got to get in the fight, because once what's happening on the federal level comes to the ground, we got problems. At the very least, like I said, the power of the people pressure is no joke. And we need to not forget that it's there and that it should be used. He must be held accountable. I saw that he does. I do believe that justice comment, and I'm not even saying that. I'm just reading the comments from Instagram. I don't get to be the judge, the jury, right? I do not get to be the judge and the jury, right? That is not my role. That is not my role. I'm looking at my internet going in and out, and this happens every time I start talking about certain things, and I'm choosing to believe that it is connected. I'm choosing to believe that it is good. It is all connected. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So Candace says state sovereignty means that the state has the ultimate power to govern itself and its territory without external interference. Snaps, snaps, snaps all around for you. Yes, that part. Right, that part. Very clearly. And so we can't exercise powers that we don't know we have. So yeah, that is why, I don't want us to be ignorant. I want us to be able to move. All right. All right. So let's, what I want to do is the bigger thing right now, to sit this morning with the Virginia budget. Let's change, sharing that tab instead. Right. Okay. Got it. I'm just making sure that I got everything up for you all to be able to see. Okay. So, and I want to lead this, but talking about this budget process with empathy. I know very well that there is a high level of frustration from the general public. I get it. I receive it. But I'm going to lead with empathy on this, because I know people watching right now, you're frustrated. And it's like, wait a minute. Didn't y'all vote? I hear people didn't y'all vote on this already? Didn't y'all go to Richmond? Didn't y'all already do this? Why is this happening? And, Democrats got the House, all three, right? The Attorney General's office and the and the governor's mansion, like, what are y'all doing? I really get it. I do. Some of it is very frustrating. Some of it is confusing. Um, uh, but it's all happening, not all of it. Some of it is happening, which means even people inside the building who do not always have the whole picture, that there are people on the inside like myself who do not always have the whole picture at the same moment. So here, I'll tell you where I sit, right? Where I sort of, my lens is on this as a delegate, and then we'll roll from there and hopefully provide you with the best understanding, right? So I am a member of the House of Delegates. I advocate, I vote, I communicate, I push for my district, for Norfolk, for even Hampton Roads, the regional aspects of things. And especially and certainly there's a push for working families, for veterans, caregivers, teachers, students, survivors, everybody who's just trying to sort of live a life with a little more ease and a little less like foolishness. Like, I'm here for that. However, it's not even however, and I'm not one of the budget negotiators. I am not in the room for every negotiation. I do not have the same power and influence as the people assigned to negotiate for the budget. I may have a little bit more information than the general public, like a tiny bit more. And I also may have a little bit more context about, some of the relationships, personalities, some of the pressure points and the dynamics. That is also very small, because you don't know whether what you see is what you're seeing, or whether it's a show, or whether, like, sometimes I'm deciphering things because they could be strange bedfellows, odd couples that you're like, oh, they really actually, or they really, you don't know. But I want to provide an understanding that even when you think especially in this world, sometimes you only know what you think you know. That's it. And so my job in this moment is to keep advancing what I believe should be in the budget, keep, advocating for what I think should be in the budget, to keep communicating where I can communicate with you all, keep asking questions, and sort of managing expectations. And I want to underscore managing expectations. And because that is the huge piece of I think, great leadership, or leadership that I have appreciated and valued the most, understands what it means to manage people's expectations. And in that vein, it is my job to keep reminding people that governing is working, right? Like, that is the thing, is that governing and working. And so that's why I do this certified doer every week. It is not because I want another thing on my calendar to do, but I really truly want you in the know, right? I want you to understand what has not happened. I want you to understand, not just what has happened, but also how it happened, why it happened, what your role can be when things are happening. And so that's the underscore. That is managing expectations. And I felt like today it would be more than necessary to also sort of talk about that thing of managing expectation, because I'm asking you to get out in the community. I'm asking you to get to work. I'm asking you to know your neighbors. I'm asking you to understand that public pressure, public sentiment still matters. But I also want you to understand, when you're out there and you're advocating and you're doing a thing, you and I as leaders have to manage expectations. And I know that it does not sound like the most sexiest thing to do. It may sound like, a staff meeting. That's not what it is. Managing expectations is leadership. And in your job, in your family, in your friendships, whether or organizations, whether that's church, your business, a classroom, the neighborhood, you already know this. When people know what is coming, or have an understanding of how to prepare for what's coming, they may still be disappointed, but they are not blindsided, right? And when people understand the process, they still may be frustrated, but they are not left in the dark. That is our job, right? And even so down as when people, even to the moments where people are told the truth really early, like 2 years ago, maybe telling people that this national date for Juneteenth, for Sale 250 was going to fall on Juneteenth. He knew that 2 years early. That may be an uncomfortable truth, but people can prepare and they can see that you care. That is leadership, right? Knowing and giving people the understanding of what you have control over, what they have control over, and what you both can do in the process. And if I could be more proactive about certain things in state government, I tell you I would. I would absolutely 1000% I would do it. But some of this budget process is still unfolding. And so instead of pretending like I can give you certainty that I do not have, right? Even when you start hearing people say, hey, the House reached a budget, I did not say much to you all. I did not say much to you all because what I knew and understood was that our budget is still an idea until the Senate comes on board and we all say yes. It's not a real, it's just our ideas. And those ideas are not real things until the House, the Senate, and the governor say yes on the same accord. And so over this internet, I'm just telling y'all. um, So I'm not going to pretend like I cannot, I'm not going to give you certainty I do not have, but I would rather tell you the truth about the uncertainty that we're in. And this is where the education piece come in. I'm going to sort of look at you all's to make sure I'm not missing anything. Hey, good morning from Salt Lake City. Appreciate you for being here. Thank you for joining us today. Right. Uh, it's still government. So I'm glad that you're here. When you have time, please check out Free the Legendary 3 on Facebook. We'll do. I'll come back to all of that. Okay, so a little bit of education. Here's what I need us to understand. Virginia, and if you're in Utah, you can check your state as well, right? Virginia operates on a 2-year budget cycle. So in even years, we adopt a new 2-year budget. On odd years, we usually are just amending or making changes to the budget that we already has. And that means that these even number year budget years tend to be extremely intense. They are way more intense. Why? Because we are not just tweaking what we have. We're building the framework for the next 2 years. For the next 2 years, that includes schools, transportation, healthcare, public safety, state employee stuff, Medicaid, all the things that keep the Commonwealth functioning. So yes, budget negotiations are completely normal. Y'all need to understand that. Disagreements between the House, the Senate, and the governor are normal. Conference committees, right? Those are the people that the negotiators that are on the front lines at it. These are normal things. And I want the public, you also, when people are talking to you, to understand that special sessions, right? Because if you understand that we have our regular session, which is always at the top of the year, special session is anytime we have to come to do legislative thing or things outside of the normal session. Special sessions, they are not new. Also, last minute drama is not new. Okay. What we do not want, what by we, and I'll say what I do not want is for normal negotiations to become unnecessarily chaotic. That's not what I expect. I'm hoping for, and not, I don't expect what is happening right now to be the standard. And we don't want the public, or at least I do not want the public feeling like the adults are arguing in the kitchen while nobody explains when dinner is coming. Does that make sense? I don't want that. And that's where that managing expectation piece matters. So I'm going to show you guys something, and I hope that you can see it very clearly, right? Let me make sure that this screen is showing very clearly. I don't know if it's going to show the whole thing, and I'm going to try to make it bigger. Bigger so that, let's see if I can magnify this a bit. Okay, let's see what. Oh no, yeah, I'm gonna have to do it this way. I'm hoping that you all can see. can see that screen. Let's see. I did this to provide you all with an understanding. Let me see if I can make it a bit bigger. I will do that for you because I want to walk through this budget process as clearly as possible, right? So what I was thinking is let's sort of look at the past 10 years, right? Just the past 10 years of data on the budget, over the past 10 years. Virginia has had both a divided government and a unifying government. What I mean is we've had a Republican governor and a Democratic legislator, or a Republican Senate, Democratic House, and a Democratic governor. All of it was mixed, right? So it's saying that there's no party that has all three, or all, both branches, both chambers, and in the legislative branch, and all of the executive branch. Like, we have operated in mixed government, right? And we have had budget fights under different governors, under different party alignments, under different priorities. This is normal. What that tells us is important is that unified government does not automatically mean smooth government, right? It does not automatically mean that there is smooth government, just for you guys to see and understand here. And I'm looking, I'm going to roll through this. Let's see. Right. So look at it. Look at this, right? In 2016, I'm just doing the past 10 years on data that I pulled, right? 2016, it was a new, and we're going to do the even years. Because remember when I said the even years are the years where we're doing the hard work. It was a new biennium, mixed government. We had a Democratic governor, oops, I don't want to do that. We had a Democratic governor, a Republican House and Senate. Did we get a budget by July 1st? Yes. We passed during the session time, right? 2018, new biennium, Democratic still staying. Did we get it by the July, right? Because our fiscal year is July 1st. So we have to have a budget by June 30th for execution on July 1st, just to say that. By constitutional law, right? By the Constitution, we always have a balanced budget. That's no joke. Like, we don't go into debt here in Virginia. So in 2018, yeah, they barely got a budget done, right? There was deadlock over Medicaid expansion, passed at the end of May special session. So in 2018, mixed government, they passed it in a special session in May, right? Let's go to 2020. Yep. It was a unified, they had all branches, right? They had the governor, the House, and the Senate. Yes, they passed it on time, but they had to later amend it late special session because we had COVID. 2022, right? And I was there in 2022, and I can tell you, I was going back and forth, mixed government, Republican governor, Republican House, Democratic Senate. We barely got it done. June 1st, right? We were deadlocked over the tax cuts, education spending. So we finalized it in a June special session, right? We're in June. This is normal. Let's go to let's look at 2023. This is mid-cycle amendments. We did not get the budget done in time. We were back and forth. We didn't get a budget until late August of 2023, right? There were we had so much money in surplus in limbo after that execution date. That matters because your local government, your school board, they think they're going to get from us. And so there is a high level of stress from them for us to get the job done, right? So all I'm saying is that in the past 10 years, we have 2024 barely got it done, right? We sparred all the way and didn't finalize until May. So like, this is real. This is where we're at. And we're still in a place where right now we're gridlocked. We're in special session. It's fine. We're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. At some point, we will get a budget. I need you to understand that at some point there will be a budget. No matter what, we've done a thing where we passed a skinny budget, right? Like, we did a budget that was just enough to keep the Commonwealth functioning. And so and then it allowed us to go ahead and negotiate on those other things. Excuse me, I'm looking like hearing all kinds of noises, right? Fair? Does that make sense? So boom, there, right? Got it. What I will also say, right, and I will say this, and then I will we'll go to questions after I finish. Just because a unified, I said this, unified government doesn't automatically mean smooth government. I need you to understand that, because even inside this inside one political party, there are regions, there are relationships, there are constituents, there are values, identities, industries, histories, and even pressure points that are different. And I also want to say this extremely, extremely plainly and clearly. I did not get into politics because I was excited about the party structure. I am not excited about the party structure. It does not always make me happy. It is infuriating. It is frustrating. It stifles voices at times. That is not my ministry. Party structures are not my ministry. But at this level of government, you have to choose a side, right? And that caucus or that party becomes a part of how power moves. What I know very clearly in choosing the Democratic side is that the Democratic caucus is diverse. There are different races, religions, regions, lived experience, which is probably actually different races doesn't exist on the other side, but different lived experience, identities, districts, urban, rural, suburban, coastal, mountain, military, agriculture, university towns, port cities, data center communities, small towns, big counties. That diversity is a strength. It also means that consensus can be even harder. Because we don't all walk in. We don't all so we're not always all coming to the table with the same lived experience. And that is the case on the other side too. Or the same community pressure or the same definition of what urgency is. That is not an excuse, but that is some level of context for what this tent that we walk into looks like when we're trying to get consensus. That's just context. On what is very clear is on the Republican side, specifically in the Virginia legislature, there's generally more demographic sameness, right? There still have a lot of regional and ideological differences, right? They still have that. But there's also more shared cultural and political assumptions in that room that make internal agreements look cleaner from the outside, right? What I mean by that is that there is no person of color in the Republican Party in the Virginia legislature, right? That does not exist. Or let me say this. Most of them are of European descent. And when you look at them, you would automatically identify them as a white person, right? But understand this, right? So that cultural cross identity wise, I'm not saying because some of them are a little bit more suburban, some of them are rural. Again, there are still things that they have differ on, but there's a sort of cleaner path. Understand that government is not. I've never thought that government was about just looking clean. Government is about doing. It is hard work. It is people watching. It is people watching while still trying to get everything on the ground. So, while everybody watches, right, there's a level of voyeurism of the work that we do. And I am hyper aware that the public is watching. And when politicians behave in ways that confirm people's worst stereotypes about politics, it makes it even harder for everybody else. It makes people sort of tune us out. It makes, even as an everyday citizen, it makes me feel like I get a little bit cynical. And I hear people say, and I probably say it to myself too, see, they all the same. And I'll be sitting in the room with them knowing that I'm being called today. That's dangerous, y'all. When really good people tune out, money gets louder, right? Money and politics get louder. I'm gonna pause because I'm gonna go into money and politics because that's a huge piece of where I'm feeling like we need to understand. what is it says? Truth and Justice 33 said, "We the people are the power and make the rules." I must say, hold on one second. Thank you. That we the people have the power and we make the rules. We prepare. She says that we must prepare you when we need to get radical or to create a new government. Heads up, we're coming for pension, future medical of reps who get APACs. And so yeah, there's a level of managing expectations there. I appreciate that. That was from Truth and Justice 33. And Truth and Justice says the Dems represent America. It is a greater depiction of what the diversity of this country looks like, especially I can say that on the state level, what it looks like when you're looking at the room. Truth said, why are data centers, why aren't they using salt water? Great question. Chelsea Higgs says they are all white, so they are able to relate and agree easier. I'll say it, LOL. It is, and I'm not going to say that there's not disagreements for the other side, but I'm just going to say that there's a level of commonality that comes to the table. Appreciate the struggle within one tent. It is reality. Wait, I want that shirt. Got it. Yeah. So yeah, that we're seeing, I think that there's a level of needing to see this happen that is what it is, right? Like y'all got to understand what I think, what I know is it is dangerous for us to get in a position where everyone thinks that the politicians are the same. It is the money piece that worries me the most. And that is one of my biggest concerns in politics. Always, it is money. It is corporate influence. I get to see it. Who gets heard because they have a lobbyist or multiple lobbyists? Who gets access because they can write a check? Who gets patience, right? It's because that's a whole thing, because they have power. Like, and who gets urgency because they have money. And that is why, y'all, like, for real, I brought forth House Bill 1447 this past session. That bill did not move the way I wanted to move. It was left in committee. It never got a hearing, right? It was left there. But the idea behind it matters. The goal was to address corporate activity and put us in a better position to where the public could trust that the decisions that we are making, that are being made that by us, are because they're right for people, not because some organization is paying for influence. That is always the crux. I'm asking that question just like you are, as a resident, as a citizen legislator. I'm asking that question too. When some people talk to me, I'm like, all right, nah. Is this your opinion, or is this because, X, Y, and Z done gave you a little taste and you're trying to get us on board? That is I'm negotiating that just like you are negotiating that. And that can be difficult. That can be a challenge. But what am I trying to say? Right. Yeah. Okay. Right. But because we want to manage expectations and we want to do it honestly, then people need to know who is in the room and influencing the conversation, and whether people are making decisions that are accountable to voters or to money. Now on the budget specifically, right? I want to be careful and I want to be transparent. The House has put forward a proposal. The Senate has concerns. The governor gets to have her position. There are major questions around data centers, tax exemption, education funding, Medicaid risk, state priorities, and what we can sort of responsibly sustain, knowing what's being put upon us by the federal government. Because by the federal government, let me pause. And because this is a 2-year budget, the stakes are really high. We just talked about that, right? That we're establishing our priorities for the next 2 years. That is more than some press release about what's happening or a headline. It is how we decide what gets funded, what waits, what gets studied, expanded, or is even left behind. These are real things. And so these aren't real holding in hands. Uh, and you all know this. I'm saying this and I'm trying to be careful, like I'm saying this, but I know you understand. The reality of this is if you want to know where folks stand, you read their budget, see where their money goes. And so I'm going to keep what I'll do, what I can commit to doing is I can keep doing my job. I am always, always, always going to advocate for Norfolk. I'm going to keep, asking what things mean for Hampton Roads, right? Coastal Virginia, here where I stay. I am always going to keep watching how these federal decisions affect our Medicaid dollars, our schools, transportation is my jam, and our local communities and Virginians as a whole. That is our responsibility. I am one vote of 140 that decide how this moves. And I have to keep pushing for a budget that is responsible, humane, transparent, and realistic, right? That is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep telling you what I can, when I can, and as clearly as I can. As I said before, I am not a negotiator. Sometimes I'm reading stuff and you're reading it and we found out at the same time. But I also want us to use this moment as a class, right? Really understand. We probably need to do like a whole session on how the budget works, what the budget bill is, what a budget amendment is, and conferences and negotiations, all that stuff. I know that I need to do a class on that. I am okay. And also just kind of giving the clarity to the public, like what's normal, how we just went through those past 10 years and what's going on, because part of the work that we do, part of civic education. Oh, I just found it. Perfect. Not to be being funny, my nose ring came out and I was like, where did it go? It was on the table. Civic education, I know it can't always happen when things are calm. We have to learn government best when sometimes when government is getting on our last nerves. And that's the thing. I want us to learn. You come here to learn. I learn from you. I need us to breathe. I realize I'm sitting here. Hold on, let me take a sip. Right? I'm wrapping up here, I promise. We have to stay engaged, and we're going to remember that democracy, you and I, let's do that. The democracy isn't some sort of vending machine. You don't just put a vote in and immediately get the perfect but democracy is more, let me say, democracy is less like a vending machine where you get the perfect snack and more like a kitchen, right? Like it is a test kitchen at that. Somebody's got to prep, clean. Somebody got to read the daggone recipe or just know the bomb recipe that was passed on from generation to generation. Somebody got to check the temperature of the meat, because let me tell you, medium rare steak, 160. Oh, 160, no, a chicken is done at 165 degrees, right? Somebody has to say who added all the salt, right? So, and make sure that everybody eats, that everybody gets something. And so, yes, sometimes, just sometimes, someone has to grab onto policy by the ear and say, let's go. We talked about this already. So I need you to understand. I want you to get in the kitchen with me. Let's cook, right? Like get in the kitchen with me tonight. Read, grab them by the ear. I put the link in there. Join us at Jordan Newby Library tonight. Go in my link tree. You can download the book. You can be a part of the work. Also, y'all take a look at some of these state boards and commissions, because I've had the privilege of being asked, do I know folks? If you know anybody that's interested, or maybe you see one and you're interested in serving on it, let us know. That would be lovely. Sign up. There's a whole application process. Send me your name, send our office the name. We will pass along the names of the people that we think are ready to serve. So I just don't want anybody complaining from the couch, from the chair, from the desk at work. And I'm not judging you for being on the couch, because that is also necessary. I just want to invite you in your civic leadership to stand up from that couch, right? So, yeah, drink water, your flower, right? I'm just closing out. I didn't get questions if I was about to close out, but I thought about it. Like I probably should, probably need to see if there's any questions. All right. So David James says, does the Senate need to have cannabis? Does the Senate's bill need to have the cannabis bill in their proposal like the House does for it, make it into a unified budget? Or can that happen when y'all go back to session? So absolutely. That's what I was trying to say about saying earlier is that when we have a bill, when any chamber or any chamber has a bill, because even the governor, if the governor has an idea for legislation or law, they still have to find a legislator to carry that, right? Hey, babe. Okay, good. I was about to turn on my hotspot real quick. Thank y'all for being patient with me. Y'all know this internet like to play. Like to play, and I ain't gonna say my provider, but I know they like to play. Um, so where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Let's see if I can get this hotspot on. All right, I'm gonna hurry up and wrap up. Yes. So remember, our bill is just an idea. It's just an idea. It doesn't mean that we're actually doing anything, right? Doesn't mean actually it's just us submitting our idea, but all three of those ideas have to gel in an agreement. So if it's in the House budget but not in the Senate budget, it ain't going nowhere, and vice versa, right? And if the governor decides to amend it out, the only way to override the governor is to have that super majority, right? To have a 2/3 to be able. I can't remember the number, but we have to have more than a majority vote to override that. I think we're close 66, 2/3, in order to override a veto, and that override has to happen both in the House and in the Senate. And because the numbers are close in the House, doesn't mean that the numbers are still tight in the Senate. So yes, if something is going to become law, whether it's a bill, it is a budget bill, right? In the budget bill or any other bill, it has to be approved by the House, the Senate, and the governor. Everybody has a say in it. Okay. So yeah. He said, my question, I love this. He said, my question broke the internet. Yeah, I did. I told you don't be wanting us to do stuff right now. It don't be wanting us to do the stuff and things. All right. So great question. Absolutely glad you asked, because that's the kind of clarity that, sort of people need, that kind of clarity. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So to close out, thank you, Marcelo. I appreciate it. I do believe that it is an honor and a pleasure to be able to come on here every Thursday and do this thing with you called like learning and living. I'm grateful for it. And I thank you for the sentiment. Chelsea, I will get you a shirt. Okay. This was a test shirt. I will get you one. I'm sure I have more. I was trying to fundraise. Still have shirts that I was supposed to be fundraising with, just my luck. That's just what happens. Got it. Truth and Justice says, we the people get lost because of the APAC money wins out the competition. Yeah, and that's I don't know, that's more prominent at the federal level too. So yeah. Mr. Chaos says, and I'm on Instagram, so I can't put the questions of the things up on the screen. So just know I'm just reading off what first to say. Mr._chaos with a 0 as the O. Most people are making decisions most making decisions that are not accountable to us, the people. I don't think it's most. I think it's there's a slim few that get influenced, but that influence more people, whether they are willingly or unwillingly influenced by them. That does really happen. And so yeah, that really does happen. And it is, I will also say this is, if you're ever wondering if the power of the public works, look at the marijuana bill, right? Look at what happened. The marijuana bill was vetoed, and then all of a sudden it's in the budget. And I don't want y'all to get the understanding that we should be doing this. We do not. It is frowned upon to, both parties do it, but it's frowned upon to legislate through the budget. Every piece of legislation should have a hearing, should go through the process, and we should deal with what that is. But I'm choosing to believe that public pressure is what made them come to an agreement. By them, I mean the executive branch, to come to an agreement and get marijuana passed this year. I'm choosing to believe that, because I'll tell you the amount of public pressure I received, and I was just like, if I could control it, I would, but I have no, I did my part. Remember that we all have a part. My job is to advocate, and so I did my part. Fair enough, right? Mr. Chaos says, I can't downsize IG Live without leaving the app. That's trash. IG, do better. I can't fix that either. Spirited One, long time no see. So glad to have you here. She said, we don't need them. Spirited One says, we don't need them to do anything about Social Security and Medicare except make them exempt from paying taxes like the millionaires and the billionaires, also now trillionaires. Come through. She said, when I come through, I'm going to hit you with the 1, 2. Yes, ma'am. Spirited One says, Truth and Justice says, regime has committed treason. Therefore, if we play our own hand right, we can use eminent domain to recoup our losses. Treason is punishable by death. Yeah, we got to have the court system that's willing to execute, which is why I think we need to get into the business of understanding our rights as a state and what kind of federalism. I think we have to ask the question, what kind of federalism are we willing to support, right? And slowly but surely moving towards opposition. I'll do something on that for us to sort of understand federalism, how it works, and where that falls in line with the state. That's another thing that the existential Republic and Chris Armitage are like schooling folks on. So y'all find your thing and start schooling us. I can lead, I can follow, and I can get out the way. But I love learning. I do not mind being wrong. I'm an adult. I can change my mind about things. And a lot of times when the public comes to me with the right things, I can have sort of it shifts us from perception to perspective. And I can't get perspective without having many, many different voices to listen to or to hear from, to be able to make a decision so that I can be held accountable in the right kinds of ways. Fair enough. Thank you for the opportunity to ask questions and make us feel heard. It is my pleasure. Don't be mad you're late, Arabiz. It's on the replay, and this one's an hour and some change long. I've been here all day. Holla at you, girl. I'm just kidding. Oh, I gotta get to Richmond. Psych. I don't have to get to Richmond. So guys, it is again, like, it is always a pleasure. I need you all to remember I want to say this. Yep. I shout out David James knows, and you got to take some credit, David James, too, because you influenced the original bill. If y'all probably don't know this story, but David emailed our office, not last session, but the session before, and was like, hey, this marijuana bill, this bill is no bueno because people like me who are glassmaker, I make paraphernalia. Y'all about to tax me out the wazoo, right, David? That's what he said. He was like, there's a tax, and why should we be taxed in that way? And I was like, I did not know about that. Thank you, David. I will go talk to the patron and see what I can do and explain to him. And so I went to the patron, who's Delegate Krizik, and y'all, that man is a phenomenal legislator. a just We have to give him some flowers. Like, I think there's a level of celebration that we need to do for these for people like Delegate Paul Krizik, who represents, I believe, the Mount Vernon area. I don't know his district, but David let me know that. And I walked over to Delegate Paul Krizik, and said, hey, I've got a constituent who's saying that this is in the bill. I've looked it up. Here is why. David gave me very succinct, clear argument as to why that was like not cool. And Paul said, oh, that makes sense. I'm going to take it out. And took it out the bill, right? Like, that is all he did was write us. And I think we maybe had a 10 or 15 minute call, probably less than that, because I don't have a lot of time in session to talk because we're working. But that is because David took his expertise and was like, y'all tripping. And I was like, are we tripping? He's like, yes, y'all tripping. And here's why. Now you need to go figure this out. And I'm like, okay, spend your power and privilege. Let's go talk and make it happen. That was in a matter of like maybe a week or so that took, because it's a lot of moving parts. I'm not sure. David probably knows better than I do how long it took, but that's the kind of stuff we need. That's like in action. I believe the reason why I still believe in the power of the public is because I have seen it in action. I have been able to be a part of it. And I need y'all to remember that. So what I will say here is that I drink water. You're a flower, right? You're a living thing. Get that water, get that sun. We got to take care of ourselves. Do great, be great. This is what we do. And do not forget, as always, call me in before you call me out, right? Because this is the work, and the doers are doing the work. Until next time, I'm Jackie Glass Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 93rd District. I am honored to serve, grateful to be here. Thank you for joining us on this morning. I hope I see you tonight? Am I going to see you tonight? Y'all need to just come on. Oh, yeah. Also, thank you, David. Don't let me forget. Advocates like Chelsea, if you're on Instagram and you see someone that drops in here, sometimes it's Chelsea Higgs Wise. Chelsea huge marijuana advocate, right? Like Chelsea, because I live close to Paul Krizik, I see that woman doing the work. If you want to know more about marijuana justice, please go to the Marijuana Justice, go like their page, see what they're doing. They were a huge part of making sure that the right folks get seated. Actually, I got questions. I'm just going to give a heads up to Chelsea and Paul. I got like lots of questions because I'm being asked about the stuff in the budget bill and how it's going to affect the folks most vulnerable. But Chelsea's a huge, and many other partners, but those two dug in completely. So tonight, I will see you hopefully at the Jordan Newby Library. What I will do is I'm going to put the link in. It is on Eventbrite. And if you're on Instagram, just don't forget that you can go to the link in my bio and see link in my bio and sort of get the rest of the information. Okay. KK. All right. Be kind to yourself. Kind to yourself. Take care. See y'all. Got me out here doing too much. Bye.